We're going to start out by approving the previous meeting minutes.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion from Joyce and a second from Bill Clinton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. All right, very good. All right, we're going to take the agenda out of order this evening, and we're going to start with number 15, which is Mrs. Orr. Okay, how are you tonight?
I'm wonderful. How are you, Madam Chairwoman?
Okay, all right, so number 15.
Yes.
Authorization to submit a grant application and enter into an agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services regarding the Crimes Against Revenue Program.
Yes, so this is the CARP program, Crimes Against Revenue Program, and this money funds several pieces of prosecutor and support staff in our office who go after crimes against revenue within Albany County and New York State. The purpose is to get funds that have been misused by Albany and New York State residents and recoup them and give them back to the state so that we can continue these programs throughout New York State. The previous year's budget was $286,700. The current grant funding cycle is for $299,710. That's an increase of $13,010. And so we are using that increase for equipment, which will be in the budget, and to even the salaries for the criminal forensic auditor, because that is a union position, and we are bringing that up to be even with the other union positions in our office.
Any questions? No questions? All right, all those in favor? Can I get a motion? I'm sorry. I have a motion from Paul Berto. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Unanimous. All right, thank you. And number 16, authorizing an agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services regarding the Gun-Involved Violence Eliminations Initiative and amending the 2019 District Attorney's Office budget.
So the Gun-Involved Violence Elimination Program is, again, a New York State grant. The program is aimed at reducing gun violence in targeted areas within the city of Albany. It historically funded a full prosecutor, half a prosecutor, and an investigator. It has expanded this year to include a new position, which is to add another community prosecution coordinator within the office. The grant increased from $176,523 to $236,740 for a total increase of $60,214. We're asking for an increase totaling $29,856.50 in this year's budget to account for the 6 months of the new position that the grant has added.
Any questions?
Yeah, just, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
So you're spending county money, it's not all just state grant money? The 22 grand is...
No, the new position is fully grant funded. If they're adding, they gave us an extra $60,000, which is going to be salary and fringe for the new position.
So there's no county money?
No county money.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Any more questions? If not, can I get a motion?
Motion moved.
I got a motion. And a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, move on now, very good, to number 17 here. And let's see. Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services regarding a salary increase for the district attorney and amending the 2019 District Attorney's Office budget.
So in 2015, the New York State Commission on Legislative, Judicial, and Executive Compensation issued a report which raised judicial and DA salaries, as the DA salaries are linked to the judicial salaries based on Judicial Law 183A. The law called for increases in those salaries in 2016, 2018, and 2019. The 2019 raise was included in the state's 2019 budget. which is, it wasn't changed or amended when the budget was passed. And so there is a request for the $2,047 increase in the DA salary, which would account for 14 weeks at his current salary and 38 weeks at the new salary with an increase of $53.85 per week.
Mr. Bergdorf?
Madam Chairman, I realize that the district attorney is the only official in Albany County whose salary is set by statute. And it appears that the commission has given quite some thought to what a DA's salary should be, and as a result of that, we have little discretion for that salary. However, I don't think that the commission or the legislature anticipated that we would be paying merit bonus time on top of a judge's salary. So from what I understand, that what we're being asked to do is adopt the judge's salary as a base, but then the question becomes, are we paying a longevity bonus on top of that? Because I don't think the legislature ever anticipated that we would pay a DA more than a Supreme Court judge. And so I have been told that if we go through with this like this, our district attorney will make more than the judges. And I'm not sure that that was the intent of legislation that created parity between the district attorney and the sitting judiciary. So I'm not sure.
Well,
It's a policy
Right.
issue really for
Correct.
the committee and the county, but is my premise accurate?
well, I would say that there's a difference between pay and benefits on top of that. Because I guess to look at total compensation, you would probably have to look at, does the judge have a vehicle? Does the judge have security? Does the judge have health insurance? What are the New York State benefits that the judge gets on top of that base salary that they have set as equal? And I don't know those answers, but in terms of total compensation, I don't know if it was meant to do that or if it was meant to be base pay.
Well, this
And I
says
don't-
your pay should be, so I guess I'd like some sort of a determination from, I don't know from who, from OCA or whoever, or, well, DCJS, the grant folks. I mean, I'd like us to know if we have the ability to award a district attorney more than judges, because it certainly was not what was contemplated. I did raise this issue during the budget process, and I said that I would raise it again as necessary, but I think we have this is a perfect opportunity for a policy determination here, and no issue with the district attorney. It's just a question of, if we're told we have to adopt this salary, and we have no discretion, and it's more than we would pay anybody else, do we do this above and beyond?
Okay. All right, so according to what's in front of us,
So, Mr. Bergeron, I'm not sure I understand the question. The salaries, as you see it in here, is $210,900 for the Supreme Court justices in New York State. The DA's salary is being raised to $202,800.
Right,
Well
number three. Look at number three.
Yes.
Okay, for counties and it lists Albany County. The salary should be 202,717.
Right.
So we're in essence, if we set it at 202,717, and then we give a longevity award above that of another $1,250, we are paying them more than an Albany County jurist.
So your question is separate and apart from the judiciary law? Your question is...
Well, no, it's consistent with the commission,
Well, all I'm
which
saying...
recommend...
Right, all I'm saying is the judiciary law contemplates the commission's recommendation. It doesn't take into account independent counties' discretionary longevity pay decisions.
But there's also a statute behind this.
So, but if you look at the statute, you see 202-800 and number 3.
Yeah.
That's what we're raising the salary to.
Okay.
That's 100% consistent with the judiciary law. We're raising the salary to 202-800 in the budget. You're asking about a separate question, which is the county's discretionary longevity payment. That's separate and a part of our
Well,
obligation.
that's a policy issue.
Right.
That I
That's
think is...
separate and apart from the judiciary law.
Is it our intent to, I mean, if DCJS or anyone else come back to me and say, you have to adopt that, I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Okay, so I guess my...
So I guess one thing that has to be made clear, though, we're doing exactly what's required under the judiciary law. Mr. Bergdorf is bringing up a question that is a question that can be brought up, but it's separate and apart and should be answered separately from what the DA is asking for here. They're asking for what exactly the commission said the salary should be. That's under 183 of the judiciary law. Your question is separate and apart from that. So that can be discussed in any way the committee requires, but it's not necessarily tied to what Ms. Orth is asking for.
You have a question, Mr. Clay?
Well, yeah, essentially, I was going to sort of repeat what counsel just said. If that is the law, they passed that commission did the commission set the salaries?
Sure, the commission, the Judicial OCA Commission sets the salaries for state justices, and under the judiciary law, our district attorney is required to be, have a comparable salary for where the state justices are. That's all Ms. Orth is presenting here. The question of what discretionary payments are made by individual counties.
Which is what I agree with. I mean, I don't disagree with what Mr. Bergdorf is saying in terms of looking at the, the longevity or whatever other benefits that the DA or any other employee get. But if this is set by law, I'm not sure what the discussion is about. It's set.
Right.
So we need to deal with this and perhaps at another point, deal with the longevity of other benefits that county employees get.
Mr. Mendy?
I think it really comes down to a determination of what is considered salary. Clearly the salary as it's outlined in the statute is a specific number. But did they envision that there would be additional benefit, additional money paid that could be considered salary that we are paying that the judiciary does not receive?
So that, Mr. Mendick, and I'd answer the same way I answer Mr. Bergdorf, that is not a contemplation under the judiciary law. That has nothing to do with what you're required to do under the judiciary law. So you're asking a question
Well,
that...
I'm asking a policy level for this county.
But it's independent from this request.
No, it's not.
No, it is.
It's actually
It
not.
is.
Well, the reason why I say it's not is because if there's a determination by this legislature that longevity bonus is in fact what we consider, we being Albany County consider salary, then there would be a
You'd still be
decrease.
paying 202,800 regardless of what...
That would, you're absolutely right,
That
but you would
does
not
not
be paying,
affect the
you would not be paying the longevity bonus.
Well, that could be true, but that's a separate issue from what we're talking about here. You're
Just-
going to pay 202,800 regardless under the judiciary law.
If a new DA came in tomorrow, the salaries would, to comply with the statute, need to be at 202,800. The person is attached to longevity, not the salary line.
Right, but what I'm not, I guess what I'm saying, and maybe this is more of an academic exercise, I think the people who created parity were looking at judicial positions where you can be a judge for 30 years and you don't get an extra nickel for longevity, okay? So when you link a district attorney with a judicial salary. We may have judges that have been county court judges or Supreme Court judges for extended periods of time who don't get that benefit. We also, none of our other county employees are actually linked to state salaries. I just wanted to raise this for the members of the committee to think, is it our intention to go above what the intention of both the statute and the Judicial Commission were? That's all.
Right, okay, so right now, I have one question. First of all, what is the DA's salary presently?
Currently, it is set at 200,000. That was the last.
Okay, so right now, he is not above what we are talking about that he is eligible for as of 4/1/2019, which is the 202,800, is that correct?
The 202,800 is what his salary will become, yes.
Okay, what it will become. So he is not above that
No,
salary now?
he's not
Okay,
above what's required.
So I understand,
Once again, I understand that. The question becomes, when you then give him $1,250 longevity on top of that 202,800,
and I hear what you're saying, but as
if
far
nobody
as...
has a problem with that,
But right now...
that's a policy decision.
Yes, it is, but right now, as far as what we have asked her to bring to us, is only based upon the $202,800, is that correct?
That's correct.
So I guess what we do need to vote on is that we're taking the 202,800.
As I
That's
understand it,
all.
we're required by law to actually...
do that.
Okay?
That's not discretionary, that part of it. What Mr. Bergdorf and Mr. Mendick are bringing up is a totally separate question of discretionary county policy that has nothing to do with 183 of the judiciary.
Perhaps that should be looked at
Right.
later.
So what I would like to do, Mr. Bergdorf, is for us to vote on this right now, because we're not voting for him to get any more. What we are doing is bringing him up to what the law states that we should at this moment.
I have no problem with that, and I will vote for it. But I'm going to ask one thing. I'm going to ask that we write a letter to the folks that do salary increases, the commission, and DCJS, to get an opinion as to whether or not longevity should be included in computing the salary.
So, just to...
An advisory opinion.
Sure. Typically, the state is slow to issue an opinion like that, and the other issue, which is broader, that type of a letter needs to be authorized through the county attorney, not through...
That's fine, let the county attorney do it.
Right, and it's something that should be addressed in further conversations, I think, with this committee. And if you'd like to bring the county attorney in to do that, that's fine, but I don't think we have the ability to issue a letter request.
We do letter requests all the time
Correct,
of
but typically
state government asking for opinions.
Typically, there's a little more planning that goes into it.
If this goes through,
Right.
we have all the way through the budget cycle to determine whether or not this is consistent with legislative intent.
Okay, so right now, we are going to vote on the salary that has been presented this evening, and the next step will be, I would say that we would talk to the county attorney's office.
I'd like him to put a line in there that say that we will consult with the county attorney's office. He's going to draft a
Alignment where, Mr. Bird?
isn't there a resolution that's going to come out of this that's going to go before
The
the
resolution that's going to come out of here deals solely with this request. We don't add to requests that are not asked of us in this context. You're asking us to put in a line to add to the language of the district attorney's request. We don't do that. We have not done that in the past, and that's a complete aberration of this committee's practices.
How would this committee go about getting an advisory opinion from the state of New York in order to carry out its public policy due diligence?
They'd use their legislative resources that they have at their disposal in this county and work independently through their legislative power to do that.
And so what we are going to do, we're going to vote on this resolution that's in front of us right now, because we are going to abide by the law. as far as this is concerned, because it is correct. And you agree with that it should be the 202,800.
Well, I believe his compensation should be 202,800 total. That's what I believe, okay? Combination of stipend and salary gives him his parity with a judge. That's what I believe.
And this
okay?
is making his salary 202,800. That's what this is.
202,800, and then if the county continues to give a stipend, then we pay him 204,050, okay? So,
But that is not going to change what we have to do by state law right now, which is to give him this salary. What the county would do.
I'm gonna vote for this.
Okay.
And I am going to ask our counsel and Kevin to reach out to the county attorney and try to get us an advisory opinion as to what the definition of total compensation is. For the future, for the budget, for consideration.
I just want to be clear, Mr. Virgo, you want an advisory opinion on a discretionary payment from one of the 62 counties given by OCA? Is that what you're asking for? I mean, that's essentially what you're asking them to give, and I need to be clear with what you're asking.
I'm sorry. When you went to work for the state,
Yes, sir.
the salary that they hired you at, did it include the fringes, your salary, the advertised salary?
That included the same thing for every state employee, yes. When I worked in the Senate, when I worked at the Dartmouth.
Well, I don't know about the Senate, but we both worked for the state.
Yeah.
And when they advertised the salary, it didn't include fringe benefits. This is what we're hiring you at. That's what I'm asking.
Once again, I don't mean to belabor this, okay? But
There's
I
no
don't-
longevity
I
pay
don't
when you're
think-
hiring someone.
I don't think the legislature or the court ever anticipated, when they linked very distinctly judicial salaries and DAs, that there would be a mechanism where the DAs would make more than the judges. I don't think that was the legislative intent. That's just me. I'm trying to find out whether or not there's anything inconsistent with law. And if they come back and they say, no, it's a policy of Albany County, that's fine. And then when we put budget together for next year, we decide whether it's the policy for Albany County.
Okay, so what I would really like to do right now, excuse me? What I would really like to do right now is, I would like to vote on what is in front of us, what is required of us by law, which is to establish the DA's salary according to this, to rounding to the nearest 100 to $202,800. No one at this table disagrees with that. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, I don't think any of our DAs should be making $202,000, but I recognize the state requirement that's imposed on us. But the idea that I'm for $202,000 for any DA, I'm not.
Well, I guess maybe more than anything else, this will serve some notice that there is an issue here which will raise itself again in the creation of the budget. And through whatever discussions we have, maybe there is a way to try to come to at least a legal analysis confirmed by some level of government other than Albany County that this is an appropriate way to go.
Okay.
And that's all I'm asking.
Okay. So, but what I would like, I'd like a motion to move what is in front of us
Motion.
just for the law. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, and now we got a motion, we got a second. Can we please vote on what is in front of us right now? All those in favor?
Right.
Against? It's unanimous. Okay, all right. Okay, so now
Thank
we're
you.
on number 18. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll be taking 18 through 26 right now. Good evening, Mr. Lally, how are you?
Good evening, Chairwoman. How are you?
Okay, good. All right, we're gonna start with number 18?
Yes,
Okay.
so I am coming before you to request permission to apply for the SHSP 2019 Homeland Security Program. This is an annual grant that comes up that we are searching right now for. And an annual grant that comes up from the state. I'm also applying on behalf of the sheriff for a total of $561,000. It's going to be allotted for various departments such as Department of Health, Department of Information Services, and the sheriff. Just requesting your permission to apply, and I'll return when it's time to accept the grant.
All right. Are there any questions?
Motion move.
Okay, I got a motion moved by Mr. Joyce, second by Mr. Bergeron. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 19, authorizing the acceptance of New York State Department of Transportation multimodal grant funding regarding traffic control improvements on Albany Shaker Road and amending the 2019 Albany County budget.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. This is simply a grant acceptance for, as you mentioned, intersection improvements along the Albany Shaker Road corridor. Again, this is just acceptance of the grant funding. We will be returning to you most likely next month with requesting permission to contract for the project and the other associated requests. But simply, the reason we brought this forward earlier is because on the state side, on the back end, it does take them a while to process these things, and we wanted to make sure there was enough time to get that all taken care of.
Okay, can I just, are there any questions? Okay, I just have one. Now, so this is for Albany Shaker Road. So is it going to start at the bottom, right down by Northern Boulevard and go all the way up?
This is actually in, on the corner of Shaker Out. It's one traffic light, okay? This came out of a study between the town of Colony and Albany County on the Shaker Road corridor, and it was an initiative that 1,000 people petitioned the county executive for, and he went forward with the recommendation.
Okay.
And I would move it.
Okay. Got a motion by, any other questions? Got a motion by Mr. Bergdorf, can I need a second? Got a second by Mr. Mendit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Thank you. All right, 19, so now we're moving on, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right, so you just finished that one. Okay, did you get? Okay. All right, we are now going to go back to number 12.
Frank's item, Jackson, we have questions on that.
Okay, so,
We had a handout, a couple of those.
okay, so we have some handouts for number 12 and number 13.
Yes, we're going to deal with number 12 first.
We're gonna deal with number 12 first. And that is resolution number 217. Does everyone have the handout?
And there's two handouts going around with this. The first is
Yeah, the same one as before.
a series of questions answered by HR and OMB, and there is an update to the resolution itself with additional sponsors, which you'll know. That's the only update for the resolution.
All right, so number 12. Okay.
We had that, this we had before.
Frank, this is Frank.
Okay,
Yeah, any other
so this is a resolution for Frank Missile?
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 270, amending the rules and regulations for Albany County employees regarding health insurance benefits for retirees.
Okay, so what we're looking to do here, right now, takes 20 years of being employed by the county to get these benefits. We're looking to reduce it to 15 years. The reason being is that many surrounding area municipalities, so on and so forth, have 10%, some have 15. We in Albany County in 1999, I believe, did a resolution moving it to 20 years. When somebody comes from another government to Albany County as an employee, they lose all their time accumulated from previous employment. Therefore, putting Albany County in a very difficult position because we're not getting the cream of the crop to come to work for Albany County because Albany County cannot give them those years that they may have had elsewhere and carry it with them. So what we're looking to do is get it down to 15 years, therefore reducing from 20 the many employees, non-union employees, that are with the county. And there's, a good number that are affected by this. Also, step 2, which we'll get into next, is a consortium of government identities coming together to try and put something together where the time accumulated, for instance, with the city of Albany, would follow the employee to the county. Therefore, bringing the benefits together, rather than somebody leaving the city of Albany, coming to the county of Albany, and at age 60, have to work 20 years before they get the benefit package that many others get much sooner. And we have that right here in the county where some employees have come over from different municipalities and have been affected because they lost everything they may have accumulated. If they accumulated 15 years, for instance, they don't bring it with them. So what we're looking to do,
Be specific, 15 years for health insurance.
for health insurance. So what we're looking to do is try and get those municipalities, and I'm talking in two, one resolution, and I'm now talking about the second resolution, not to confuse you here. If the consortium comes about, and, we're directing the county executive to seek that information within a 90-day period, if possible. So we would put everybody in line with the same time frame and move forward with something that appeals to our employees and employees of other municipalities if they do a consortium. Otherwise, we're looking to do it right here in the county, reduce it from 20 to 15, therefore giving the opportunity of some of our employees to gather those benefits. Just so you know, in 1999, I think I pointed this out, it was at 10%.
10 years.
10 years.
10 years, I'm
years.
sorry, 10
10
years,
years.
I'm sorry. So, at one point, a legislator advanced a resolution moving it to 20.
There's no dates on here.
So, it's coming back to bite us. We have some disgruntled employees because they've been working for 15 years in government. They now come to the county and they're out of luck. So, That's basically what we're looking to do here. Kevin?
Yes.
You want to shed any light?
Sure. The only thing I just would add to everything Frank said is the first handout that you were given, which looks like this, it's a memorandum. We reached out to the Department of Human Resources, the Office of Management and Budget, and the exec staff, and asked a series of questions which we thought you'd all like to know the answers to. As you look through it, the first page describes the overall insurance cost for everybody in the county, not just retirees. On page 2, you've got the answers to how many people are currently on the retiree rolls. You see at the top, it's 1745 are currently there. Most of those are under the Medicare Advantage Plan, 1,223 are under that plan. And if you're wondering what the costs for those plans are, that's on the last page, which is under section H. But anyway, we've got a bunch of numbers here for you. Average retirements for the county, about 60 to 70 a year. You can look through this, and it's for the committee's perusal as you go. So we wanted to have that for you, and the commissioner is here, not that she's here to answer on behalf of the sponsor, but if there's any specifics, I asked her to be here for that.
I'm sorry.
Question, Frank, I don't know who's in the consortium and what their, benefit packages look like, but I know some municipalities are at 20, some are at 15, some actually have sliding scales. Like, some of them say if you serve for 10 years, we'll pay 50% of your medical costs, but if you serve for 15 years, we'll pay 75% of your medical costs, and if you serve for 20 years, we'll pay all of your medical costs. Would this give us the ability to look at everything, or just going to 15 years? Would it give us an opportunity to look at all options? I'm talking about phase number 2.
The one resolution,
We're not-
phase number 2.
We're not to that one yet.
We're not to
Yeah,
that,
we're not-
okay,
that's
but
the next
no, it's part of it,
If you want,
yeah, yeah,
So,
I can answer that now, or,
okay.
I think we need
yeah, stick
one
to
at a
this
time.
one, yeah.
But why don't we stick to one at a time here? And.
Madam Chairwoman, I do have a
Just a
question or a
minute.
comment. We do have this nice memorandum that talks about all the numbers. There is an additional number that is not on here. This came from, the numbers that I have came from the audited financial statements of the county that were audited by public accountants. The last one that we have available on the comptroller's website ends 2016, and they actually go through the process of determining the other cost, or the cost of other post-employment benefits. That is, it's something they have to do on an annual basis. And as of the end of the year, fiscal year of 2016, that actuarially accrued liability for the county is over $500 million. It's just under $529 million. So we need to be very cautious about adding to that number. I'm sure the number that we would see as of 2018 exceeds this by probably another, $50 million. But these are costs that our grandchildren are going to have to pay. So we should look at this with a real eye towards that additional cost that going forward. I mean, we've seen in state government, they're actually cutting back on, the different tiers for the pension programs. They're cutting back on benefits. I'm not sure we're in a position that we should be looking at improving our benefit package at this point. Thank you.
We're just looking at the non-union employees. That number you just gave is for about 2,400 employees.
Yes, sir.
So there's a difference there. That money is already talked about.
Oh, of course it is. And all we're talking about is increasing that number.
And to have employees come to work for the county and not have the same benefits as the person sitting next to you, that's a problem.
Well, if you're going to do that, Mr. Comesso, then you need to look at the entire benefits, including vacations and sick pay and all the other
That's all
things.
negotiated by the unions.
Well, not for the people that we're talking about in this specific instance.
No, that's not the specific issue there. When you talk, the number you just talked, That's for
No.
all employees.
And all I'm saying, the only point that I'm trying to make is that that number is only going to increase, and that number is going to be paid, in the future by our grandchildren. And I think that we need to be very, very cautious about how we look at our benefits and increasing them, because that is a big, big number that we have to deal with.
And I think so too, that we have to look at the bottom line all the time, and I think I do that. And we have done that for years in Albany County.
Didn't say you did.
But just remember one thing, when those ridiculous items come before us and we raise our hands every month, think about that, and think about those ladies and gentlemen who sit there with a smaller amount of benefits. How can we possibly think that we can employ somebody, comes to county employment at 60 years old, before he or she reached the point that we're talking about? They'll be 80 years old. They'll be at the Albany County Nursing Home taking the benefits.
That's just an example. That's,
That's-
I mean, you could
that's
say
true.
they come in at 40, they come in at 25. It's just an example. And I think the thing that is important here is that as we look to improve the package, and I'd like to make one comment. Every dollar that you're going to stick into benefits, you're going to lose in the ability to pay additional salaries. Okay? You can't work that equation both ways, because we don't have the dollars. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Madam Chair? I just want to point out, this came up in Personnel Committee, and the Personnel Committee voted 6-0 to table this. And the reason they did is, frankly, these numbers are not complete. We need to have a hard number about how much this will cost the county each year. And until we do, we really can't proceed on this. We do know that healthcare costs are going to go up every year. And when you do pay more for healthcare costs, that's less money available for salaries, which, by the way, helps retain and attract employees. So this is a big-ticket item, and we really need to know, I think, have better numbers, and I'm hoping this committee will table this as well. Thank you.
And I did agree.
And Mr. Commisso,
I mean, I
yeah, Mr.
don't want
Commisso,
to
yeah,
think that,
yeah, but
you know.
Mr. Commisso was very accommodating. He did agree to table it, which I appreciated, Mr. Commisso.
Okay. May I ask a question? Jen?
She hates that.
Okay, can you explain for me, please, very simply, I'm trying to put this in terms of how I know I received my health insurance coverage after retirement, okay? So, for the county, do we have 2 levels of benefits as far as health insurance is concerned right now?
No.
Oh, okay, employees hired prior to the adoption of these rules.
Okay, I'm sorry, so wait, level, you mean, we have 2 different time frames.
Right, correct.
So if you were hired prior to October of '99, you could have 10 years of service and be 55 and be eligible.
55 with 10 years?
Correct.
55 and 10 years, so pre-1099, okay? So you're saying starting November of 99?
Actually, starting October, so it's at the
Say again?
It's starting October of '99.
Oh, starting October 99,
You have to have 20 years of service.
20 years. 55 and 20?
And 55.
So, right now, we're on 55 and 20. Okay, from October 1999, and prior to that, all those people, it was 55 and 10. Is that correct?
Correct.
So what we're actually doing is returning to the 55 and 10. Is that correct?
No.
We're not, okay, so, excuse me, I'm sorry, 15. All right, so we're in the middle then. Okay, so it's not 10, it's 15. So it's 55 and 15?
As it reads here, yes.
Okay. 55 and 15. Just,
I was sort of at the Personnel Committee meeting. Frank was going to try to get some sort of a sense of better numbers for the Personnel Committee.
Yeah, but you're never gonna get the exact.
Well, you'll never
number.
get an
That's the
exact number, but, of course, but, you know, Civil Service Commission, there are healthcare modeling people who can, you know, give us some sort of a sense. So I think probably next month, we would probably be operating with some degree of better information as to what the fiscal impact would be.
Possibly.
That's the hope.
I just
That's
have
the
to
hope.
make a comment, I'll make the same comment I made in personnel. I've spoken a lot to the executive staff on this, and the committee, I hope, is understanding that there's not only the cost, but you have to factor in a lot of different things, including the savings you're gonna have with, when these higher-end employees retire, for those that do, presumably our commissioners are gonna make a discretionary call to hire someone who fills into that position at a lower rate. So you're gonna have a certain amount of money that you're saving on salaries to be used to offset this. So it's that plus costs. That's a question that can be given a broad answer, but I don't think anyone can tell you an exact number. So I think the committee should understand that this is a multifaceted question that is not going to be a straightforward, this is the number. We can give estimates based on the numbers we have.
I'd just like to challenge that, Madam Chair, if I could. There are experts who do this all the time.
And those experts cost money.
And there's averages that you can figure out. So this idea that
Which
some
costs
kind of
money.
reasonable number is elusive, I don't accept.
If you're willing to spend the money, Mr. Grimm, that's correct. You can spend all the money you want for those answers.
Well, this is about money.
I just have a question, I think it might be a Frank. So are we trying to do this for those people who are now at, okay, I just want to make sure everybody understands what I'm getting at. So pre-1099 is 55 to 10. Are we trying to just take those people from 1099 up until now and give them 55 and 15? Or is it everybody from 1099 forward that we're trying to do 55 and 15?
No. It's the employees who the rule book applies to, which is non-exempt, non-union employees, hired after the adoption of the rules, which is October of '99.
So
When you say non-exempt and non-union, can you,
Sure, so there's there's union and there's non-union.
I get it.
Broad, just simplistic, I know, but most of our employees are union. Most of them are union contract. Jen, I don't know if you can give me a percentage of how many of our employees are union. I think
About
it's,
2/3.
so about 66% are union.
okay.
Their unions negotiate these contracts in terms of benefits along the lines of our healthcare rules. The other employees who are non-union fall into classes, a lot of which are non-union, and they're exempt positions. Jen, if you can explain what that means, you'll probably give a better explanation than I will.
Exempt probably isn't in this
Right.
That's why I was.
case.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
think we're just talking
I
about.
was confused
Glad we had
with the
Commissioner.
with the terms,
Right.
because it
Yeah.
didn't
I'm glad we have a
didn't work,
commissioner here.
didn't work for me.
It's just union versus non-union.
Okay, it's so, classified and unclassified.
All service, correct.
Okay. So, but I mean, we all know that there were probably, of the 1/3 of the employees that we have who are non-union, for those hired between 99?
1099.
99 and now 2019, for 20 years, they all came here knowing that they needed 20 years. So everybody came to the table and said,
That was the deal.
I hereby take the job, I know I need 20 years for my health insurance.
Presuming they read the rule book, yeah.
Okay, and we also know
They
that
know.
when you turn 65, you become eligible for Medicare, correct?
That's correct.
So you get health insurance
From a different source, yes.
from a different source.
Right.
So what I'd like to know is, how do all those factors, is there some estimate? this tail may not be, I mean, this is Rich is right, this is a huge tail, $500 million for the county. It's the biggest number on our balance sheet. It far exceeds our debt service. It is the largest single obligation of the county. And before we expand that, we should have some sort of sense. And it may be that somebody looking at this says, you know, a bunch of these people at age 55 are gonna have Medicare, so you really, at age 65, there really isn't that big an exposure. And I think that may be what you find out. But that would be awful comforting to, I think, a lot of people who are worried about adding a monster number to the tail.
That's exactly why we tabled.
Well, that's what.
To do our dues.
I move the table.
I would like to make a motion to table it,
Second.
consistent with the sponsor's recommendations of the personnel committee.
So it's being tabled by the committee, that's the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to table Mr. Bergdorf and second by me and, sorry. And all those in favor? All those in favor? Of tabling? Is that what you want to do?
Table.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Madam Chair, I appreciate Mr. Commissio's willingness to hold
Okay, so
committees.
it's unanimous that we table by. All right. So now we'll get to 218,
This is tabled.
13, I'm sorry,
Well, which is resolution.
which is resolution 218.
The next one we basically have covered. You know, it's Hagan and calling on the county exec to move forward and look at this consortium, which I think he's been looking at anyway. Bring it together, come back to us within 90 days. Hopefully he can do that. And once again, we'll probably get a lot of information from that may boil over to the one we just talked about, table.
And this is just a feasibility study in case there was already.
Absolutely. So moved.
Sorry, motion by Mr. Bergdorf.
So I got a motion by Mr. Bergdorf. Can I get a second? I got a second by Ray Joyce. Okay, all those in favor?
Thank you.
Unanimous. And we left off at 19.
So now we're back to 20.
Okay, we're back to 20.
Mr. Riley, I think is here
And number 20 is amending the 2019 Albany County budget salary adjustments.
So, Madam Chairwoman, this is a request to make some administrative adjustments to salary lines in different departments. A few different reasons. Some were due to the department actually missing step increases when they did their budget submission last year. There's some pay equity issues, and there's one where it's the increase of job responsibilities since the person took the job.
Any questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What pay equity issues are we talking about here?
Karen, would you like to?
For the specification technicians in my division, currently, the current budget, one makes 40-some thousand, and the other two make 34,000, which is less than the current full-time custodians, which the people in my office currently are dealing with multi-million-dollar projects. So there's a huge pay equity, problem there when I have people trying to attract new people to come into the position, and then the salary is so much different than the ones who have 40,000.
So you're giving the same raise to two different people?
Yes.
Are they both equally talented?
Well, I don't think I would give all of the money right away, because one person is brand new. So that person, I would not give all of the line to right at the beginning, because we're still assessing what skills she has. But the other individual has fantastic skills, and it would be in best interest of Albany County to retain that individual. They're very hard to come by.
So why wouldn't you just increase one and then wait on the other one to see
That's
how?
what I would, well, I'm trying to make the budget the same, so that when we move forward, I'm decreasing a full-time position to a part-time position to do this so that there's no additional monies needed for the changes that I want to make.
So it's revenue neutral, you're telling me?
Yes.
Budget neutral.
How's that different?
It's an expenditure, not a revenue.
Well, yeah,
That's
but
the only-
you're not spending any more money.
Correct.
Okay, well, all right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I was going to move it.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Burgdorf, I got a second from Mr. Cook. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. All right. Number 21, authorizing the execution of an option agreement with the St. Catherine's Center for Children and the conveyance of real property located at 543 North Pearl Street.
Madam Chairwoman, this was, back in 2017, there was a resolution that authorized St. Catherine's to basically begin the process with the state of trying to secure money to open a center at 543 North Pearl. They have been successful in these efforts to the tune of $5.6 million. So we're looking for a resolution here to move forward, allow them to build the center and commence during this construction season so they can get going.
Thank you very much. And I have to say that this is in my district, and I'm very proud of the work that St. Catherine's has done to realize all of this money to make this, it'll be a great improvement.
Oh, it's going to be huge.
For the district. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second, I got a motion from Mr. Clay, second by Ray Joyce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 22.
Yeah.
Number
Excuse
22,
me.
authorizing an agreement with the Albany County Land Bank Corporation regarding e-property software.
So, Madam Chairwoman, this is to enter into an MOU with the land bank, between the county and the land bank. Currently, they subscribe to a software package called eProperty Plus. It allows all their property agents, workers and stuff, when they go to visit properties, to document anything about the condition of the parcels, anything that needs to be done. This would allow us to piggy bank onto their license to get 5 additional licenses. Where our property inspectors that are going out and looking at the properties before we transfer them to the land bank would be able to start building these files. Allow us to work collaboratively with them to share the data back and forth, which in turn should allow them to close on properties faster, reducing costs to the county by less of a holding period for us.
Any questions? Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr.
Second.
Clay, and I got a second from Mr. Bergdorf. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, 23, we do have a handout.
And this is an update of correct listing of the properties that this resolution deals with for members.
Oh, just the one, it's just one sheet.
Yeah, this is a request to transfer foreclosed properties to the land bank. As council said, the list was updated, the one that was in the backup originally was the correct list.
There was a update that went out yesterday afternoon to the members of the committee in digital format. This one is revised slightly just to point out that there's the additional, value column on the side is the only way that this handout, which is up to date now, is different from the one that you received yesterday by email.
Let me just, I didn't get anything by email, so can you check your email thing?
I'll double check again, but I believe it was sent to your associate staff, but I'll check.
No.
I'll follow up on that.
Just send it directly to us if you would.
As a member of
Especially when it's
the committee, I didn't get it. If you sent, did you send it to other members of the committee directly?
Yes.
Make sure that every member is just sent.
Would
I
you
will-
please,
Yeah.
I will double check.
Yeah.
I'm making a request. If you're going to send it to members of the committee, you can copy whatever staff you want.
Yeah.
But I'm asking you to send it to all the members of the committee.
Yeah, let's make that a policy.
Yes, that's a reasonable request.
Thank you.
All right, so, can I get a motion? Any other questions first? If not, can I get a motion on 23?
Motion.
I got a motion from Mr. Clay, I got a second from
Second.
Mr. Grimm. Okay. All those in favor? Unanimous? Number 24.
Madam Chairwoman, this is, or let me start over. In 2018, Resolution 271 of 18 was a transfer to the land bank. One of the parcels on that list was 182 Breviter Street in the city of Albany. We've been contacted by the former owner of that property. She actually had a religious tax exemption on the property, did not realize that she was actually back on her taxes. It was about $8,000, which, as you know, we very rarely foreclose on something for that small of an amount. So she's going to make us whole for the full amount of back taxes owed, interest. We have the money on retainer, or on deposit, just awaiting authorization from you, if that's okay.
Any questions?
Quick question. The 8,000, she's tax exempt or is not tax exempt?
She is tax exempt now. This has to do with the ancillary charges like water charges. stuff like
Okay,
that.
all right, so not taxes.
Yes.
Got it.
Any other questions?
Motion to move.
I got a motion by Mr. Joyce, can I get a second? I got a second by Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
We're now on number 25, authorizing the correction to the tax roll for the city of Albany.
Motion moved.
Candidate Nang. This is for 118 Arch Street. This is a garage that was purchased by the city Mission. They mistakenly filled out the wrong exemption form prior to March 1. So real property tax law 420A allows for the assessor to do an inspection of the property and provide an affidavit that it meets the needs of the exemption. So we're asking that the 2019 property tax be canceled on that pursuant that it meets all the recommendations for the exemption.
You have a motion to move it.
Second.
Motion?
Yeah, motion, Mr. Joyce, second.
Okay, we got a motion from Mr. Joyce, second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 26, authorizing the refund of real property taxes in the city of Albany.
There's two parcels here. The first one is 8 Harding Street. This is just a timing issue. The property owner paid the school taxes, but it was collected here at the county because the books had already been turned over. So we're just looking to refund him the value of his enhanced star exemption. And the second is for 37 Buell Street. The property owner has been receiving the veterans exemption since 2008 due to a clerical error. The exemption was not put on the 2018 database. The taxes have been paid in full, so we're looking to refund him $287.93 for the value of the veterans exemption.
Thank you.
Motion moved.
Motion? Got a motion from Mr. Joyce. Got any second? Second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor? Thank you very much, Ms. Adams.
Thank you.
We are back to number 1, 1 through 4, which are all tabled.
Hey.
Okay. All right, so now we are on to number 5. And we have a handout on number 5.
We have a handout, some additional backup that we received from the executive staff regarding 2 offers that were made on this particular property at 171 Troy-Stansky Road. As addition, if you look through the packet, there's also information on the taxes that are owed on the property. And this was referred back last month, as you will recall, by the chairman back to this committee, so that any additional questions can be answered.
I just have a question. Does the county currently own this property? It's...
Yeah, Mr.
So this was withdrawn from the foreclosure process. As a former car wash, there was concerns about potential environmental contamination. Anytime we have any potential concerns along those lines, we stop the process prior to us taking title, so we don't have liability if there has to be a cleanup in the parcel.
I guess my confusion is the location of the property, 171 Troy-Stansky Road.
I just looked at the picture, and now I know what car wash it is.
Oh, boy.
And the offer, just for
Sell it.
further information, is from an adjacent landowner at 175 Troy Schenectady Road.
175 or 185?
I believe it's 175, but
It is, yeah, 175.
Who is the adjacent landowner?
The first page, Mr. Bergdorf, it's,
RJ
RJ
Valenti.
Valenti.
yes.
And what is this from AFSCO at 185?
I believe that's the,
Just a plan to fence it?
Well, it's the
Fence
plan
company.
to knock the building down, fence it, and do the remedial.
Okay, so they're actually a vendor, they just happen to have an adjacent address.
no, the adjacent property
It's the
owner
adjacent property.
is RJ Valente,
No, but
Yeah.
we're talking about 175 Troy Schenectady Road?
which is, yes.
AFSCO is 185 Troy Schenectady Road.
Right.
Oh, that's.
They're
that could-
literally almost
that
next
could be the
door.
case.
That's why
That could be the
that's why I'm
case.
confused with the location.
Sure. Yep, I'm not disputing that, I'm just saying the person making the offer is an adjacent landowner at 175.
And what were the two competing offers?
First there, you'll see it's $100,000 is the first offer, which was sent to the exec staff, and I believe we turn on to,
The other offer was 75,000.
Yeah,
How much?
75 grand.
Like the fifth page from the back.
So I guess the question, as you all are perusing this, is why we didn't take one of these offers.
So as per the disposition plan, we were transferring this to the land bank so they can make the determination of who the best use of, or who would provide the best use of the property.
Is that?
For $1.
So, let me just ask this question.
We're giving it to land bank for $1?
Is it an unsaid rule, or is it a rule that the adjacent property
Why wouldn't we
owners
take the 100 grand?
have first rights to purchasing? I know
Typically.
we've been down this road before.
Typically, the adjacent owner is given preference, if all else held equal.
And so we're not doing it this time?
Well, we haven't done a sealed bid auction on a parcel in several years now where we've evaluated multiple bids and scored them against each other. That's what the land bank was created for.
Well, one of the questions that I have, and from a cursory look, it looks like we're taking an offer for $25,000 more. Is that correct?
So, Mr. Bergdorf, just to clarify, this
Why
was
take it?
sent back, this is sent back because the initial request by the executive's office staff was to transfer it to the land bank,
Bank.
not to one of these bidders.
Okay.
That's the request by the county executives, to transfer it to the land bank. This was
Have
sent.
both of these bidders approached the executive?
They approached Mr. McLaughlin in our office.
Okay. So one at 75,000 and one at 100,000. Part of what the land bank does is they do some due diligence that ultimately maximizes the value of the land to the municipality to put it back on the tax rolls. Do we have any idea? What it appears to me is we're getting an extra $25,000 for the county if we go ahead with this.
You're giving an extra
100,000.
100,000.
So,
Okay,
Mr.
but,
Bergdorf, you'd have to
We're letting the
amend
land bank get the money.
request.
no, please, let me think this through. But what we're missing is the due diligence that the land bank does and says, what are you going to do with this property? The adjoining landowner may want to put up a parking lot, which creates no jobs, no economic activity, doesn't add to the assessed valuation of the property very much, et cetera. I don't know the answer to that, what they're
I'd
going
turn
to
it
do.
over to-
The $75,000 purchaser may want to put an entire business there that's going to create 10 jobs, add economic activity, add a newly accessible, and they may want to build something there. How do we judge that? If we don't send it, how do we do the due diligence for that?
So in the past, we did do sealed bid auctions where we had those evaluations done in-house. That was one of the reasons that the land bank was created, though, because they're experts in that, we're not.
Just to go a little bit farther.
Yes.
This is contaminated property that was going to the land bank LLC, and that's the land bank itself.
Correct.
We know
That's
it's
what-
contaminated, or we assume it's
We're
contaminated?
assuming it's.
Out of a preponderance of caution, we,
It's a car wash. This is not where, this is not gas and oil, this is suds
I'm
and
telling you where
soap.
it was going. It was going to the
Okay,
LLC.
okay.
As contaminated property.
yeah, state law allowed the land banks to set up these subsidiary LLCs for this purpose.
I guess I'm sort of concerned about who gets the better bang for the buck, the colony taxpayer, okay? Where's there gonna be the greater revenue generated, both in county taxes, town taxes, school district taxes, and how do you make a determination if you don't know what any of the individuals are going to do with the park?
Well, I know, looking at this, that the individuals, the adjacent property owner, no, that's number one, that's in our plan. Right, so
Yeah.
adjacent property,
Yes.
that's number one.
Yep.
Number two.
I am somewhat comforted by that.
So number two, this guy comes in, it's gonna cost him $249,000, giving the county $100,000, and the rest of the money going to fix the property up. That's
Okay.
all laid out there.
Do we know what the property is zoned?
I'm sure it's commercial, car
Well,
wash.
there are 20 different designations for it.
I mean, that's.
I know the back taxes on it are $697,000.
Wow.
So, you let it sit there and you get the land bank for $1, and you cut the loss and take it on that. And plus get the property back on taxes. Goes to the land bank, it could stay off the tax rolls for 5 years. Things you gotta consider.
Yeah, no, this is a great, this is exactly what we're gonna keep bumping into.
Yeah.
Whether we hold the money and take the money, or we give it to the land bank. And over time, this is gonna be very significant, particularly with the issue, the land bank is concerned about how much money the county should be providing them. Here's an example where we're passing on 100,000, the county is, and giving that property to the land bank, who may make 100,000 on it. So that, to me, is somewhat like a contribution
But
to
our
the land bank.
disposition plan calls for the adjacent property owner to be able to bid on it. And so,
In other words, we have two choices. We can take the money right now,
Yep.
or we can pass it to the land bank and let them take the money.
Just to clarify, I think before we were to amend anything, I wouldn't suggest that the committee do that tonight. We consider this amongst ourselves, get some more information, if that's the route to go, but table it for tonight so that those discussions can occur. I can't tell you what to do as committee members, but I would suggest you table it by committee for further discussion.
Can I make a suggestion as you go through your data gathering? Maybe you could somehow inquire what the property will ultimately be used for, because that makes a very big difference to me in terms of our town tax base. And I am comforted to a certain degree that it is an adjacent landowner. But I'd love to know that it's not going to be a parking lot and go fallow, and we're missing an opportunity to give it to someone who would actually put it to a better beneficial use.
Okay. All right, so,
And I'll move to table it.
okay, so I have a motion to table, second, and I have a second by Mr. Clay. All those in favor? Is it unanimous? Okay, all right. We are on number 6, which is also going to be tabled.
Okay, 7,
And number 7, be tabled. 8, tabled. 9, tabled. 10, tabled. 11, tabled. And
14 tabled.
tabled. All right.
I'm here.
And I do believe,
That's it. You need a motion to adjourn.
yes, I need a motion to adjourn. Yep. Motion by Mr. Bird. Second.